What happens when an 8-year-old burn survivor's courage meets the compassion of the First Lady? Eva's journey from a hospital room to becoming a symbol of hope and resilience shows the power of kindness and how one simple act can change the world. What happens when the courage of an 8-year-old burn survivor meets the compassion of a First Lady? Eva's story will leave you inspired. It was a gray morning at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, where time seemed to crawl. Nurses bustled quietly down the hallways, and the soft hum of monitors filled the air. In room 203, an 8-year-old girl sat propped up on her hospital bed, her left arm wrapped in bandages that extended to her shoulder. Her name was Eva, and today was just another lonely day in a journey that felt never-ending. She was no stranger to pain, but this morning, something in her gaze hinted at an exhaustion beyond her years. Eva clutched a worn set of crayons in her unbandaged hand, the paper wrappers peeling and frayed. Drawing was her escape. It didn't matter that her fingers struggled to hold the crayons properly, or that her creations spilled off the edges of her sketch pad like they couldn't be contained. Each line and swirl was a piece of her heart poured onto the page. Her favorite subject, people. Not the glamorous or perfect ones you'd see in magazines, but the kind of faces that told stories. Smiles with gaps, hair that seemed to float like clouds, and eyes that sparkled with life. Eva's current masterpiece was a portrait of her mother, whom she hadn't seen in over a week. Work shifts and long commutes made it impossible for her mom to visit as often as she wanted. Eva didn't complain. She knew her mom was doing her best, but the absence was felt like a cold draft that couldn't be shut out. Yet, as she added a final touch to her sketch, something unusual happened. A nurse entered the room, her face bright with an energy Eva hadn't seen before. "Ava," the nurse said, her voice barely able to contain excitement, "you're about to have a very special visitor." Eva blinked. Special visitor? Her mind raced. Was it her mom? Maybe her art teacher from school? But the nurse didn't elaborate. Instead, she opened the door wider, her smile widening as Eva craned her neck toward the hallway. But nothing could have prepared Eva for who walked through that door next. Eva's heart skipped as the door opened wider. Standing there, framed by the hallway light, was a figure she'd only ever seen on television. Melania Trump, the First Lady of the United States, stepped inside with a calm grace that made the small hospital room feel like the center of the universe. Dressed simply but elegantly, she held a beautifully wrapped box in one hand and a soft, reassuring smile on her face. For a moment, Ava couldn't process what she was seeing. Why would someone like her, a kid who spent most of her days fighting to heal, catch the attention of someone so important? Melania greeted Eva gently, pulling a chair closer to the bedside. "Hello, Eva," she said, her voice soft but steady. "I've heard so much about your art. You're very talented." Eva blinked, her fingers tightening around the crayon still in her hand. You have?" she stammered. "Yes," Melania replied, setting the gift box on the bed. "Your drawings are inspiring. They show strength and courage just like you." It wasn't just a random visit. Eva later learned that her story had reached the First Lady through a viral post shared by a nurse at the hospital. The post included Eva's sketches, her story of survival, and her dream of becoming an artist who could make people feel seen and understood. The post had touched countless hearts, but one of them happened to belong to the First Lady herself. Melania had made it her mission to uplift children like Eva, whether through hospital visits or programs that championed education and resilience. She believed in using her platform to shine a light on stories of courage. But for Eva, this wasn't about politics or fame. It was about a stranger showing up in a way she hadn't expected. Eva hesitated as Melania gestured toward the gift. "Open it," she encouraged. Slowly, Eva pulled at the ribbons and carefully peeled back the paper, her breath catching as she saw what was inside. It was a professional art kit, more supplies than she had ever dreamed of owning. Pencils, pastels, sketch pads, and paints of every color. "It's yours," Melania said. "I want you to keep creating. Your art can change the world." Eva's eyes welled up. For a kid whose life had been filled with pain and setbacks, this was a moment that felt almost magical. But Melania's visit wasn't just about the gift. She stayed to listen, asking Eva about her favorite things to draw, her dreams, and even her fears. Their conversation felt real, like two people sharing a moment rather than a fleeting photo opportunity. What happened after that conversation would ignite something much larger than either of them could have anticipated. The hospital room, once a quiet refuge for Eva's private struggles, now felt alive with warmth. Melania's presence seemed to fill every corner, not with grandeur but with genuine interest. She asked Eva about the characters in her drawings, what they meant to her, and why she chose certain colors. Eva's nervousness began to fade as she explained her creative process, her words spilling out faster than she expected. "I draw people," Eva said, holding up her latest sketch. "But not just how they look. I try to show how they feel. Like this one." She pointed to a woman with long flowing hair. "She's happy but a little sad too. See her eyes?" Melania nodded, studying the sketch closely. "It's beautiful. You have a gift, Eva." For a moment, the two were simply artist and admirer, but the magic of that moment wasn't lost on the hospital staff, who watched from the hallway. Nurses whispered to each other, snapping quick photos, not for fame, but because they wanted to remember the pure joy radiating from Eva's face. Eva couldn't stop smiling, even when Melania glanced at the clock. "I have to go soon," she said gently. "But before I do, I want you to promise me something." "What's that?" Eva asked, her voice small but curious. "Promise me you'll never stop drawing," Melania said. "Even when it's hard, even when it feels like nobody's watching. Your art is powerful." Eva nodded, clutching the art kit like it was a treasure chest. "I promise." Melania stood, and for a moment it felt like the visit might end there. A kind gesture, a special gift, and a memory Eva would cherish forever. But as Melania turned to leave, Eva spoke up. "Wait." She hugged Eva carefully, mindful of her bandages, and thanked her. "This is something I'll never forget," she said. The visit could have ended there, a perfect story for the day. But as Melania walked out, holding the sketch close, the energy in the hospital shifted. Nurses, doctors, and even other patients began gathering around Eva's room, curious to see what had just unfolded. Little did Eva know, this single moment would spark a movement that stretched far beyond the hospital walls. The first ripple came that same evening. A nurse, moved by the encounter, shared a heartfelt post on social media. She described Eva's bravery, her incredible artistic talent, and the touching visit from the First Lady. Attached to the post was a photo of Eva holding her new art kit, her smile wide enough to light up the screen. Within hours, the post began to spread, gaining traction in ways no one expected. By morning, Eva's story had gone viral. News outlets picked it up, not as a political story, but as a testament to resilience and kindness. People from across the country shared it, leaving comments filled with words of encouragement. Artists, teachers, and even celebrities reached out, offering to send Eva more supplies or teach her techniques over video calls. She became a symbol of hope, a reminder of what the human spirit could endure and overcome. But it wasn't just online attention. Donations started pouring into the hospital, many accompanied by notes saying they were inspired by Eva's strength. Some were small gestures, a box of crayons here, a sketch pad there. Others were monumental. A local art gallery in Pasadena offered to showcase Eva's work in an upcoming exhibit, titled Courage Through Art. They even pledged to donate the proceeds to support pediatric burn survivors. For Eva, this sudden wave of attention was overwhelming. She was just a little girl who loved to draw, after all. But with the help of her nurses, she began to understand the impact her story was having. One nurse brought her a stack of handwritten letters from people all over the country, children, adults, even entire classrooms, telling Eva how her story had inspired them to face their own struggles with bravery. And then there was the community. A group of local artists banded together to paint a mural on the side of the hospital, depicting Eva surrounded by vibrant colors and symbols of hope. Eva watched from her window as the mural took shape, her face lighting up with awe. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about everyone who had ever faced something they thought they couldn't survive. But what made Ava's story even more powerful was her response. Rather than bask in the attention, she used her newfound platform to lift others up. She asked the hospital staff to distribute some of her donated art supplies to other young patients. "They need this more," she said simply, her voice filled with sincerity. One day, a reporter visited the hospital to interview Ava. Sitting beside her bed, the reporter asked, "What do you want people to take away from your story?" Ava thought for a moment, then said, "That even when bad things happen, you can still do something good. You just have to try." But the biggest surprise was still waiting in the wings, ready to take Ava's story to an entirely new level. Ava's story had already touched hearts across the nation, but what happened next turned her into an inspiration for millions. About 2 weeks after Melania Trump's visit, the hospital received a phone call that sent the staff buzzing with excitement. A well-known organization that championed children's resilience and creativity wanted to host an event in Eva's honor, a national fundraiser to support burn survivors and showcase their artistic talents. The event, aptly named Eva's Art of Hope, was held in Los Angeles and drew an audience far beyond what anyone anticipated. The venue was packed with supporters, from local families to celebrities who had been moved by Eva's story. Her artwork was displayed prominently, each piece telling a story of perseverance and emotion. Eva, though overwhelmed by the attention, stood proudly beside her favorite sketches, ready to meet the people who had come to see her. The highlight of the evening was when Eva took the stage, her small frame dwarfed by the podium, but her presence larger than life. With quiet confidence, she thanked everyone who had supported her, from the nurses who cared for her to Melania Trump, whose visit had changed everything. Ava became the face of the initiative, her drawings featured in promotional materials that highlighted the transformative power of creativity. Her once private escape had become a source of connection for so many others. As for Eva, her life was forever changed, not just by the attention, but by the understanding that her struggles had meaning. She continued to draw, her art evolving with her as she grew. But she never forgot the lesson she had learned through it all, that even in the darkest moments, kindness and courage could create something beautiful. In the hearts of everyone who heard her story, Eva left a lasting reminder that hope isn't just something you find, it's something you share. Ava's journey, from the quiet confines of her hospital room to becoming a national symbol of resilience, was proof of how a single act of kindness could ripple outward in unimaginable ways. What started as a simple visit from the First Lady blossomed into a movement that brought people together, not for recognition, but for something far greater: the shared belief in hope, compassion, and the power of art to heal. Her story wasn't about fame or grand gestures. It was about the little moments, the conversations, the drawings, the courage to keep going, even when the odds were stacked against her. Eva showed the world that even when life leaves its scars, it doesn't have to define you. Instead, it can shape something beautiful, something meaningful for those who followed. For those who followed Eva's story, the takeaway was clear. You don't need to be a world leader or a celebrity to make a difference. Sometimes all it takes is a small gesture, a kind word, a listening ear, or a helping hand to change someone's life. And sometimes, as in Eva's case, those small gestures can change the world. So, as we close this chapter of Eva's journey, let her story be a reminder to us all. No matter how big or small, your actions have the power to inspire. Don't underestimate what you can do to lift someone else up. Who knows? You might just be the spark that ignites a movement. If Eva's story moved you, consider sharing it with others. And if you believe in the power of hope and kindness, subscribe to this channel for more stories that celebrate the strength of the human spirit. Together, let's keep inspiring change, one story at a time.